Stay away from him. He's crazy. There's a telling scene in Martin Scorsese's 1995 movie Casino. Sam, Ace Rothstein, played by Robert De Niro, walks up to a bar and notices a pen laying on it. He taps the shoulder of a large, well-dressed man next to him and asks if the pen is his. Glaring contemptuously down at Rothstein, the man replies, "Yes," and then tells Ace to stick the pen up his ass. Rothstein pauses a moment, wondering why the guy is being such a jerk. No such hesitation affects Nicky, Rothstein's friend, played by Joe Pesci. Without warning, Nicky grabs the pen and brutally stabs the man repeatedly in the neck. Onlookers are horrified. Rothstein's voiceover tells us that if someone crossed Nicky, it didn't matter how big he was. Nicky would take him on. Nicky was crazy. While Nicky is a Hollywood creation, he was in fact based on a real-life mob enforcer named Anthony Spilatro, who was implicated in over 24 murders. Nicky is an exceptionally violent example of a certain facet of the human psyche, a facet that seems to be far more common in males than females, a penchant for extreme risk-taking. Hey guys, it's Donna. So, extreme risk-taking doesn't have to be this violent as it was in Nicky's case. Instead, it only has to be dangerous. Psychologists define it as any willful behavior that puts the actor at risk of serious bodily harm, including death. From the very well-known childhood game of I dare you to see who could climb highest up that tree, steal candy from the store, or chug the entire pitcher of beer, those are all examples of extreme, well, maybe not too extreme, but some sort of risk-taking. Today, this risk-taking has been taken to new heights, literally by daredevils on their YouTube channels. While there are females who participate in extreme risk-taking, it is largely a male activity. Just look up any sort of top 10 lists, such as this one by WatchMojo titled Top 10 Daredevil YouTube Channels. You'll see most of the participants are male. On Mustang Wanted, Pablo, insert however you say his name here, thrills his viewers by free soloing up skyscrapers, suspension bridges, and other dizzyingly tall structures, dangling precariously from them once he's reached the top. In 2014, he climbed the 32-story, 176-meter tall, again, a word that I can't pronounce, embankment building in Moscow, and planted a Ukraine flag at the top, angering authorities watching below. Other YouTubers, such as Damian Walters, James Kingston, Chris McDonald, and Jeb Corliss, perform similar daring and dangerous feats on their channels. The risk in these stunts is real. Jeb Corliss is a base jumper, meaning that he jumps from elevated surfaces such as mountain peaks or high-rise rooftops using a wingsuit to glide and descend to the ground. Sometimes this includes proximity flying, where he glides perilously close to mountain ridges, buildings, or bridges, or maneuvers through narrow, semi-closed canyons. In one stunt, Corliss and his friend Dwayne Weston were supposed to glide past the Royal Gorge Bridge in Colorado, with Corliss going below the bridge and Weston above. Tragically, Weston was killed when he impacted the bridge. In his years of base jumping, Corliss has suffered numerous injuries, some serious. Other stunts are less about scaling heights and defying gravity, and more about just being crazy. The long-running Jackass franchise has featured such antics as shooting cast members from a cannon, locking them in a room with a bear, and allowing a swarm of bees to sting their genitals. On this Brave Wilderness channel, Nathaniel Coyote Peterson eagerly endures the bites and stings of Earth's nastiest bugs and critters.
This is the worst sting I've ever taken. There's no question about it.
All in the name of science. There are many possible explanations for this behavior. The thrill itself could be the allure. When asked why they do it, daredevils often speak of the emotional high they get, the euphoria and happiness that results from performing their death-defying feats. Critics might dismiss daredevils as mere show-offs, desperate for any attention. Maybe as youngsters, they were ignored by parents, teachers, and peers, and that left them with an insatiable need for the spotlight. While many can relate to the desire of seeking a good thrill, the means by which this is done is typically safe, a scary movie, or a roller coaster. Stunts like these that put the actor in danger almost seem to defy the basic human instinct to survive. Is there really anything to be gained from performing these dangerous stunts? An explanation that many psychologists would propose looks even farther back than childhood to explain the motivation behind extreme male risk-taking. This explanation says that the reason is not found in anyone's personal history, but with the evolutionary history of our species. It goes by the colorful name of the crazy bastard hypothesis. Alright, so why might males be especially motivated to perform risky stunts? An important biological principle that helps explain this is paternal investment. This refers to the effort and energy an organism expends in caring for offspring. The more investment required for current offspring reduces an organism's ability to invest in future offspring. The exhausted mom's lament of, "I can't have another child because I'm too busy raising this one," aptly describes this idea. While there are a few exceptions throughout the animal world, parental investment falls far more heavily on females than males. Now, depending on the species, females can spend weeks to years caring, protecting, and raising their offspring. This means that compared to males, they spend a considerably longer amount of time in the parenting business rather than the mating business. This creates a mating market imbalance. In most species, there are always more males looking for female mates than vice versa. Put in economic terms, the male demand for mates far exceeds the female supply. This is especially true in humans, where 9 months of gestation is followed by years of lactation before a female can resume reproduction. Sexually receptive females therefore become a scarce resource for which males must compete. This is referred to as intrasexual or male-on-male competition for mates. So how do males compete? Sometimes this takes the form of direct conflict. Two males physically battle it out, usually with the bigger and stronger one winning. Direct conflict, however, can be costly, even for the winner. Sometimes he is so exhausted or injured that he is unable to reap the rewards of his victory. So, nature has devised another way for males to compete, called male displays. Instead of acting like gladiators in the Colosseum, males act more like vendors in the marketplace, displaying their wares to potential female buyers. Male peacocks strut about, flouting their massive, colorful tails. Male lions display their bushy manes. And frogs try to out-croak each other for female affection. Researchers have found that these displays serve as honest indicators of genetic fitness. It takes a healthy set of genes to grow an effective display. A smart female will pick the male with the best display, leaving the others out in the cold, reproductively speaking. And now by this logic, the guys on Jackass should be motivated to do their crazy stunts because of a deep evolutionary drive to display their high-quality genes to potential female mates. While there may be some truth to this, it's unlikely to be the whole story.
I can't drink the milk! I'm going too fast!
An ABC News report found that nearly 70% of the Jackass audience was male, most of whom were young, between the ages of 18 and 34. So if the jackassers are displaying their superior genetics, most females aren't even watching. While it's hard to get good audience demographics data for Daredevil YouTube channels, it's a pretty good bet that their audience is largely young males as well. Young males between the ages of 18 and 35 make up a large majority. 60 to 70% of sports climbers, according to a 2018 survey by the Outdoor Industry Association. Since people's viewing habits tend to follow their interests and activities, this group would be the most likely audience for YouTube Daredevil channels, especially those featuring urban climbing. Thus, if male daredevils are displaying genetic fitness, they're displaying to the wrong crowd.
I don't think so either.
Then again, maybe it isn't the wrong crowd. Some male displays are targeted at other males. For example, while a male lion's mane informs females of his genetic fitness, his roar informs other males of something different, his formidability, or how tough he is. Male lions fight each other sometimes, but often they avoid direct conflict by addressing each other's roars. A roaming male lion looking for a territory to claim will gauge the power of the current landholder's roar before deciding if a fight is worth the effort. The idea that males display formidability to one another is what lies at the heart of the crazy bastard hypothesis. Over the past 2 million years, human males have engaged in two forms of competition. Number one, individual competition for mates. Me against you. And two, coalitional competition. Me and my guys against you and your guys.
Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade? I don't know.
All of this, of course, for status and resources. Either of these could be lethal. Thus, a male had to carefully choose both the opponents he fought and the friends who fought with him. While being bigger and stronger can give one an advantage in conflict, that advantage can be lost if the bigger, stronger male seeks to preserve as much health and strength as possible so he can claim his reproductive rewards when the conflict is done. A physically large but reasonable male could potentially lose when confronted with a smaller but unreasonable adversary. This slight, crazy male who is willing to go to any extreme to win, including sacrificing life and limb, would be both the most dangerous foe as well as the best ally. Extreme risk-taking is how a male signals to other males that he possesses this useful form of craziness. Dr. Daniel Fessler at UCLA is a major proponent of the crazy bastard hypothesis. In a cross-cultural study using participants from the US and Fiji, Fessler and his colleagues showed a connection between a man's propensity for risk-taking and his perceived size and strength. When a man was described as an extreme risk-taker, subjective judgments of his size, strength, and propensity for violence increased compared to when he was described as being more cautious. Our minds naturally connect risk-taking with the physical attributes of size, strength, and violent behavior. This is true even though no correlation between a man's size and his risk-taking behavior exists. So what Fessler and his colleagues show is that the human mind may have been designed by evolution to assume this false connection because it uses size, strength, and proneness for violence as indicators of formidability. Other studies have shown that males and females react very differently to non-heroic male risking. Females find hazardous risk-taking unattractive for long-term mating purposes. Risk-takers can be sexy. Their bravado indicates good genetics, something sure to arouse female interest. But this package may lack reliability. A fondness for danger could leave the daredevil badly injured, or worse, and therefore unable to provide the material and emotional resources a female and her offspring require for successful reproduction. So, while a female may desire a daredevil's genes, she's not interested in a long-term relationship with him. By contrast, males are interested in a relationship with a risk-taker. They interpret risk-taking as an indicator of a steadfast ally, someone who will have their back if they get into a conflict with a rival male group. This sex difference has important social implications. In a social context where male/female mating bonds are generally unstable, young males tend to be more violent. A more violent environment encourages males to demonstrate their formidability through risk-taking displays. For example, gang violence. These displays further reduce long-term mating, given that females find risk-taking males bad long-term mates. Thus, a vicious, socially destructive cycle is put into motion. This is the tragic social dynamic seen in many poor, high-crime urban neighborhoods. There is, however, a more positive side to extreme risk-taking. Risk-taking does not always take the form of questionable antics, such as letting bees sting your jewels or sharing space with a bear. Extreme sports are risky activities that entail skill, training, planning, and preparation. Any negligence or mistake, however, could lead to serious injury or death. Base jumping, waterfall kayaking, free solo climbing, and big wave surfing are some of the more popular extreme sports. Psychologists who have studied extreme sport enthusiasts have found that in some cases, their experiences result in positive growth. Towing the brink between life and death evokes powerful, often conflicting emotions that can deeply affect someone's perspective on life. Climber Rob Schulthis described his experience as something between panic and euphoria. A base jumper described his emotions this way: "You can't even begin to try to make somebody who hasn't done it understand how frightening, how exciting, how peaceful and beautiful that sensation is." Many extreme sport participants claim that their experiences have spiritually transformed them, making them more courageous and humble. After one kayaking venture nearly cost him his life, Don Jacobs claimed that he had become a different person. "I had changed. I found myself to be more forgiving and more patient. Reflection replaced reaction more often than before." After summiting Mount Everest, mountaineer and filmmaker David Brashears said that he became certain that in exploring the terrain of the mountain, we were usually exploring a far more mysterious terrain, the landscape of our souls. For some, what may start out as mere thrill-seeking can result in a profound reordering of their attitudes toward life. Evolution doesn't design creatures to be happy, intelligent, or spiritually enlightened. It only designs them to be reproductively successful. Other qualities are secondary. Extreme male risk-taking evolved because it gave some males an advantage in the mating game. Being fearless helped some males ascend the dominance hierarchy and gain access to females looking for good genetics. Risk-taking isn't necessarily good. It can contribute to heightened levels of social violence and jeopardize the stability of personal relationships. But it can also lead to transcendent experiences that make people more patient, humble, and appreciative of the great gift of life. This paradox is exactly what we might expect from the imperfect and often unpredictable process of evolution. Alright guys, so what do you guys think about the crazy bastard hypothesis? Guys, are you more inclined to be friends with the crazy guy in the group? And ladies, do the dudes on like Jackass or any YouTuber that does stunts, do they not do anything for you? That's the end of the video. I will see you guys next time. Stay psyched.